I am a massive fan of the sport of cross country skiing, and we've had some great athletes from that sport on, particularly this year as well. And we're continuing the tradition of great athletes from the sport and from Australia as well. Competed earlier this year in Beijing across 5 different events, and I'm thrilled to learn a little bit more about that experience and the journey that took him to his first Olympic Games. Please welcome to Off the Podium, Seve de Campo. Seve, first of all, pleasure to have you on the show today. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Ben.
It's exciting cross-country skiing. I wish more people in Australia would realise how exciting cross-country skiing is, because it's one of those ones when an Olympics rolls around that I'm always hooked to. I always am glued to it. And it's just, there's something about it that is so captivating. Do we need to really start some massive campaign here, Sebi, to get more Australians on board with this sport? Because it is a great sport.
Yeah, and I completely agree. Yeah, I've fallen in love with the sport, and yeah, every games in Australia and across the whole field. I just reckon there are so many great stories behind all the athletes that get themselves to the start line, um, and yeah, it was a pleasure being at the games as well this year. I think we got a really good rap from all our other teammates and the staff and everyone. Sort of, I think Elisa was saying we were sort of the backbone or bit of the emotional sort of pulse of the team, which was nice to hear. We sort of, yeah, 5 events, we had to give it everything every couple of days out in Siberian style weather conditions. So yeah, thanks for that.
No, you're more than welcome. And actually, one thing that got a bit of coverage too, I think it was the Thursday in the second week, Channel 7 was running at prime time at that stage. And I worked for 7 during the Olympics, and it was kind of exciting to see some of the promotion that was going for it. And we even had Dave Colbert at the time, because a lot of the time they were just using, say, a world feed for the commentary. But Dave Colbert was like, nah, I want to give this a go. So he got there for a couple of hours that afternoon, did his research, and then boom, he was live commentating it. So yeah, even Channel 7 sort of jumped on board with it for a little bit to really give it some good primetime action.
Yeah, Dave, he's the guy with Elisa, who was it? He was the main commentator.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was sort
yeah,
of doing that for that, because he spreads his work quite well across some of the other events. Did a lot of sort of snowboard cross and ski cross and everything along those lines. But it was exciting to see him just sort of jump on board, because I don't think he had planned
yeah,
on doing cross country skiing when he sort of went into those Olympics commentating it.
yeah. No, that was good. I think that was the last event of the games, the men's 50K that was shortened to 30K because of the gale force winds and the borderline illegal race temperatures. So it was funny after the race seeing a video of him doing the pre-race shot out there in the cold himself. Yeah, he gave us a good rap, and yeah, we saw a few of the clips afterwards on 7 of ourselves, and yeah, it was quite humbling to see.
Because it's obviously, we've talked to a lot of our winter athletes, and we often talk about how it's kind of that little window that a lot of you get sort of that attention every 4 years when the Olympics are on. But I can imagine for cross country skiers, I mean, we talk about a lot of winter sports not getting a lot of promotion in Australia. Cross country skiing, sadly, doesn't get a lot compared to some of the others. So it must be those moments where all of a sudden you are getting some attention. People are able to see this sport and sort of see what all 6 of you who were competing in Beijing had been up to, and sort of the journey it took you to get to the Olympics.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think we did a bit of promo stuff before the games as well. The Oz Olympic media team were asking us to get on board, and we made like a Shrek All-Star
Yes.
video where Phil was starring as Shrek. Um, So I even had a couple of people after the games mention, "Oh yeah, we saw you guys like beforehand doing all the videos and stuff." And like that wasn't put on or anything. I think we just had a really great team vibe, and like particularly beforehand and then throughout the games, and we just wanted to bring that energy to the team. And especially because it was sort of still COVID impacted, that was one of the ways we could bring the energy to the fans or support network from home. So I think that was really important to pump up the team on social media and keep the energy rolling through whilst we were at the games.
Because it was fun to watch that. We had Casey on just before the Olympics, and we had Jess on not too long ago, and yeah, talked a lot about sort of that energy and the camaraderie that all of you seem to have. Because I can imagine, you're traveling the world together, sort of a close knit team. Australia, not a massive country when it comes to the sport, so you sort of all band together there. So I imagine that's important to sort of keep spirits up, and particularly in such a grueling sport such as cross country skiing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, similar to a lot of other sports, it's a great feeling doing all the tough sessions with cool people and people that you've been through a lot with and trust and really enjoy their company. So we had some really good momentum with that leading up to it. It almost drove me a bit insane the 2 weeks before the games with there was that window where basically if you got COVID, you couldn't go. So we were literally just like bunkering down in our apartment in Switzerland. We had to send the physio out to do any single little errand run, like go shopping or go to the pharmacy. And like we wouldn't go running in the main street of the town. We sort of just went all out, so much so that now I'm basically scarred about wearing a mask here in Australia. But yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, do you get to know each other even more in that 2 week period, or do you just kind of go, "Oh God, get the hell out of my house. I'm sick of you."
Yeah, both of those things.
Learning
Yeah,
a
some
lot.
of us, yeah, there's sort of yeah, I think everyone was a bit uptight at times. Yeah,
Not ideal
not gonna
preparation for an
not gonna
Olympics,
go
I can
into it too
imagine.
much. Yeah, not ideal. Yeah, but fine.
You still ended up on the same team together in the Olympics. It wasn't
Yeah,
like you were just like,
exactly.
"Nah,
Yeah,
I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore."
it's
I
good to go
believe
through tough things together.
exactly. It builds character, right? It sort of
Yeah.
keeps things strong. I believe you sort of didn't necessarily grow up doing cross country skiing. This is something that you sort of came to a little bit later. I mean, before we get to sort of what drew you into cross country skiing, what growing up as a kid, what were some of the sports that you were doing? Were winter sports something that sort of you were drawn to as a younger kid, or was this also something you kind of fell into a little bit later?
Yeah, a little bit later, like in high school, probably, I fell into cross country skiing. And when I started thinking I could be quite good at this sport, winter sports was always a fun part of my childhood. And mum and dad would take us up to go skiing at Mount Buller in Victoria. But that was always just, go to Koffler's, get some nachos and do a little bit of ski school or just ski around. But yeah, I liked my traditional Aussie sports like footy. I was a big Hawks supporter, and
Well, this has
I
been a
played a
fun
lot
chat,
of.
Sevy. Sorry, we're out of time. It's all
Didn't
right.
sit
It's all
well
right.
with you then.
No. I'll just ignore that fact. Keep going.
Yeah, so I only knew success for most of my life with the Hawks.
All right, turn it up. Keep going. Yep, that's all right.
Should probably
I'm a Carlton
one
supporter,
supporter.
so it's all
Okay.
good. Yeah, as a young child, I remember success, but it's been a while. So yeah.
Okay. Carlton's my second team, if that makes any.
Oh, there you go.
Um,
I wish I could say the same for Hawthorn, but I really can't.
Yeah, our family's split. Mum and dad and my brother are Carlton, and me and mum are Hawthorn. So yeah.
Wow,
Anyway,
divided house growing up. That would have been
it's
very
quite
interesting.
it's quite good having a divided house for AFL teams.
Yeah. I would know. I literally was almost put a gun to my head as like a 3-year-old and like, you will go for Carlton, otherwise you will move out. So
Yeah,
thanks, Dad, for the torturous life. It's been fun. So
okay.
yeah.
It's good passion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I played a lot of cricket and swimming and tennis and running, and then fell into cross country skiing just basically one night in year six. We were a small school, and Dad was in charge of deciding all the teams for the inter schools that were coming up in Mount Buller. And previously, I'd just done alpine or moguls or snowboarding. And he said, "Oh, Seve, why don't you try cross country skiing this year?" And I thought, "Oh, I didn't even know what that sport was at the time. Didn't know what it looked like." And I said, "Why would I do that?" And he said, "Well, I think you'd have a better chance of winning some medals if you do cross country skiing rather than alpine or whatever." So I couldn't say no to giving that a go,
Yeah.
trying to win some medals. And then, yeah, I got two of my mates that did inter-school snow sports, and we made a relay team, and off we went. And yeah, things escalated pretty quickly with everything sort of. I was a good runner, so um, we were driving up to Perisher Nationals in year six, and then invited to state team training camps and national team training camps, and yeah, snowball affected pretty quickly.
Thanks, Dad,
Yeah,
for thinking
thanks,
that you could
Dad.
win some medals.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
exactly.
crazy. Which it's fascinating because, particularly from a sport maybe that you're not overly familiar with, I mean, I can imagine that to take to it so sort of quickly and everything that snowballed from that way. I mean, is it something that you go into and you go, "Oh, I wish I had discovered this a little bit sooner"? This is something that, who knows what could have happened if I maybe discovered a little bit younger.
Yeah, yes. I think I hit it at a good age where it was all still fresh and exciting, and there was no risk of burning out in the sport because by the time I wanted to commit fully, I was sort of it was about time. So it was like the motivation was always very high, and I always had guys that were just a little bit faster than me to chase down. And I think for me, that's probably why I've been able to stay motivated and enjoy the sport for as long as I have, because I learnt, to actually work hard and train and get better, instead of sort of being the number one from the get go. So now it's sort of ingrained that to be good, you can't rely on anything that comes too easy, and yeah, you've got to work hard. So it was a good time to get into the sport.
It probably sounds like a really obvious question to get an answer to, but I'd be intrigued to see how you sort of describe it. I mean, switching from, say, alpine and freestyle into cross country, I mean, are the key differences just down to things like endurance and training? I mean, obviously skiing styles are different. I can imagine equipment is different in all three variations. I mean, did you find it difficult to adapt to, I guess, the more subtle aspects of cross country versus what you were doing in alpine and freestyle?
Um, like I wasn't a pro or anything in alpine and freestyle, just to preface with. Um, but yeah, I was still learning things about cross country skiing. I mean, a couple of years ago, I got a new ski sponsor, and I had to test all these skis, and I was still learning about all the different grinds and makes of the ski. And there's still more to learn, and but yeah, I think similarities are the equipment is important for all the different sports in skiing, and um, the training differs definitely. I mean, I'm lucky as a cross country skier because it's so endurance based that you can do a lot of your summer training not necessarily on snow. So I can spend a lot of time in Canberra, where I study at uni, and actually, just go running and bike riding and roller skiing to get the endurance. Whereas, like alpine skiers and freestyle skiers, to train properly, they need snow. So, yeah.
It's kind of that comparison. And then the roller ski aspect kind of goes all right for you because I believe you're a national champion in roller skiing, Seve. Which,
Yeah,
I mean, I
big
didn't even know was a
title.
thing until I did this research. So, I mean, can you tell us a little bit about national champion in roller skiing? How does that feel?
Big achievement, do you think, Ben?
Yeah, oh, huge. I think like we
Yeah.
should cancel this interview about cross country skiing right now and just talk about this,
I thought
national
that's
champion
what
roller
this
skiing.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought
Oh,
that's what this
awkward.
was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Let's start it. We're only like 15 minutes in, so we can just quickly
We worked
change
our way
tack.
through it. Yeah, I can't remember the moment when I learnt that roller skiing was the main form of training for cross country skiing. I think it must have been when Dad bought these things called skikes. I think I was in year 8, and they were these sort of like bigger rollerblade things that you can wear with your normal running shoes. Um, and I put them on and I did a lap around the tan in Melbourne um,
Hmm.
at like 6 p.m., so peak hour. And it's just, yeah, overtaking, skiing through these people. And at the time, I thought it was great, but yeah, soon realized I probably don't want to be doing that all the time. Especially now, I'm not going to put the skikes on and just do laps of the tan. But yeah, they were. I mean, it was quite fun. Like rollerblading is fun if you've tried that. I think that's semi-mainstream. And yeah, roller skiing is a lot the same. And nowadays, I've got maybe 8 different types of roller skis.
Wow.
And yeah, it's the main training form. So we just head out on the bike paths and the roads here in Canberra, and I used to do it a bit when I was at school in Melbourne. Still get comments from the tradies asking where the snow is.
There's got to be some sort of comeback there. It's like, I don't know,
Yeah.
just be wearing your Olympic tracksuit or something like that. Like, shut the fuck up, mate. Olympian here. Come on. National roller ski champion. Like, get back to painting your house.
Yeah. No, I definitely have had time to think of comebacks over the years. I don't know if you've got any off the top of
Oh,
your head.
yeah, we have to think of
I
some.
yeah, I like to think that I look professional enough that I don't actually get that many comments while I'm roller skiing, which because I don't actually get that many comments these days. But yeah, the most jarring one I've ever got was me and my brother were like roller skiing out near Stromlo, and these guys like in a big van like just wound down the window and just started like going like ha 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 ha, just like a sort of loud laugh, and then they just kept going, and we were just like, what was that? It was quite weird. But yeah, my comeback would probably be to say like what was that? Would you like come out of your car and come
Yeah.
over here and say that to my face?
Yeah. And you ski off.
Yeah, and then yeah, and
Catch
then I
me.
was
Come on.
ski off. Yeah, catch me.
Hope that's not like Rowan Browning or something who's going to like sprint after you and probably catch up to you. But like, I mean, I could guarantee you
Yeah.
probably beat 9 out of 10 people in that situation though. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
exactly.
Which it's. I mean, I remember being. I think it was in Montreal. I was up. It was in summer, and they've got that sort of hill overlooking the city, and a lot of people hiking, and a lot of people were sort of on roller skis. But I guess Canada people are probably aren't really commenting too much on that. Whereas I could imagine that in Australia. But I mean, it sounds like a fascinating sport. I know speaking to some speed skaters on the show, they've talked a lot about sort of the speed rollerblading aspect of it, which
Yeah.
very nearly became an Olympic sport about, 15 or so years ago. But sounds almost like we could push for roller skiing to be a sport at the Summer Games. Maybe Brisbane 2032, Sevi, and you
Yeah.
could take this national championship to Olympic glory as well. There you go.
Summer Olympic as well.
Yeah, like it
That
sounds fascinating enough.
yeah, if they want to do that, then that'd be cool. Yeah, think I don't think that's where the sport's headed. It's got a World Cup though. There's a roller ski World Cup. And yeah, it'd probably be cool to do one of those
Surely you
someday.
get an invitation if you're a national champion. Surely that's just the next, thing. Like here's your national
Yeah.
championship ticket to the World Cup. Go on.
Yeah. Can you organise that?
Absolutely, we've got lots of sway on this show. So
Have you
for
got
sure.
you've got some people? Yeah.
Yeah, we know people in high places, definitely. So we'll get onto that for sure. What do you get as a national roller ski? Just a cool trophy and a title to add to your name? I mean, sort of, what do you get for that?
You get a $20 gift voucher to Snow Trek and Travel, so you can get
Wow.
you can pay for an eighth of a block of ski wax.
So it's worth it then. You
Yeah,
save a bit
it's
of
worth
money
it.
for the next cross country season then. So it's like,
Yeah, exactly.
you're always going for those discounts, right? It's like when you're on a website and you've got one of those apps on your like Google Chrome to get 10% off like a shipping or something like that. It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
saves it.
just a discount, a line through
Yep.
some other price that's
Yep.
more expensive, and you're like, okay,
Yep, that'll work. That's good.
Yeah.
Worth all the effort, and I'm a national champion as well. So, can't take that away from me. With a lot of the sports that you're doing growing up, I mean, was the Olympics something that you always sort of look towards? Were you doing a lot of these sports hoping that maybe one day this could be achieved? Or like if you're doing footy, was it like, I want to be an AFL player? Like kind of, was that a goal of yours as a child to be a professional athlete?
To be honest, like when I was younger and trying before I started giving cross country a crack, so probably before I was 15. No, I was just enjoying sport, and I didn't really think I was the most. I was never the most talented kid. I was good, but there was always someone who would be better than me that I'd have to try and beat. So it was never like, oh yeah, I'm born and designed to be an Olympic athlete. It's sort of just over the years, I realized more and more as I kept improving that it was something that was realistic. And then when I was about 18, around 17, 18, I thought I could really give it a crack to go for cross country skiing. Like it was mine for the taking if I just did everything as well as I could. So that was pretty exciting. And unfortunately with footy, like I would have loved to play AFL. It was just that when I started skiing, I couldn't go in as hard for the ball, which is sort of important.
A bit, yeah.
So that sort of limited
Colton's
me as
learnt
well.
that this year. Finally, it's been a while, so,
Yeah. Although the last couple of weeks, the sort of teams
Yeah.
have found that out.
Yeah, 11 seconds right the other day against Melbourne. So we were in the finals, and then 11 seconds, boom.
That would be absolutely devastating.
Just a bit, yeah. No, it's definitely something that hasn't lived with me now for nearly a week, Sevi. We've got our own elimination final this weekend. So
Yeah, literally. Are you going?
I'm being in Tasmania. It's not sadly something I can quickly go to, but I've committed to if we make the finals, and at least it's in Melbourne, I'll be going up for the first game. I'm not going to take that opportunity to see my team in a final and let that slip. So, I mean, obviously, I remember when we were last in finals. It wasn't like it was 50 years ago. We're not
Yeah,
Essendon, but yeah, we'll see. There's still hope, maybe, and
you'll
hopefully, maybe
have
the
to.
Bulldogs. Can I actually? I'll ask you. I really never cheer for Hawthorn. I really don't. But please, can you beat Bulldogs this week, just for
Yeah, I was
us?
just about to say you'll have to go to the game in Tasmania and
Yeah, I might
hope
go up to
Hawthorn beats the
Launceston.
Dogs. Yeah,
Not a lot of incitement to go to Launceston for the most part, but maybe I will this weekend just for
yeah,
that point. So
it's quite important.
yeah, very important. Very. I'm not too worried about St Kilda. Mind you, saying that they'll probably win by 100 points this week and be the one that no one's paying attention to. But anyway, yes, that's a whole other kettle of fish. You talk about that progression though, and sort of around about that age when maybe you thought, well, this is a possibility. I believe you narrowly missed out on the Youth Olympics in 2016. Was that something getting close to that kind of spurred you on to keep going, or was there kind of you're already on that path really at that point, and that was just something that you nearly went to, and you sort of just kept focusing on everything else that was going on?
Yeah, it was a big turning point in my like mentality as an athlete. It was the first thing that I really wanted to achieve. And I had two really close mates that were both going for it as well. And we were all about even, and we were all training really hard. I flicked the switch the year leading up to that, and I just trained a lot and did a lot more roller skiing and did everything. And Mum was going, "What? Are you going roller skiing again?" That's when I knew I was starting to train like well. That was where I usually gauged off if Mum was surprised if I was heading out again.
Mums always know.
Yeah. So I told myself if she asked me like, "Oh, what? No, just it's too early," and then I'd be like, "Okay, good," you know.
Thanks, Mum. That's the
Yeah,
inspiration I need today. Well done.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Thanks, Mum. Um, and yeah, and it was super close, and yeah, the committee chose another guy to go, or my mate to go, and I was pretty gutted for only actually a week, but really gutted though for some days there, and I worked out. I was pretty keen on doing this, and I'd already learnt therefore, like in the lead up to that, despite not going, I'd already learnt how to train and work for something I really wanted. So it was like sort of now I've got the tools and I can keep doing this, and there's always more things to work towards, especially a real Olympics 6 years later. So yeah, I set my sights on that.
So, was there any possibility of Pyeongchang? I mean, obviously, you went to a couple of junior world champs sort of in the lead up there, but I mean, had results gone a certain way? Did they look at somebody your age to potentially go 2 years later then to Pyeongchang?
Yeah, I mean, unlike maybe freestyle or moguls, to be a good cross country skier, you sort of need years and years of training, and the best are late 20s, early 30s. So there are a few older guys at the time that had just had more years and were more established, and the way the selection criteria worked at that time for Pyeongchang was like you sort of needed to be having Olympic level results like sort of a year beforehand as well, just to like start meeting criteria. So it was going to be a big task. I would have had to just have like an unbelievable December beforehand. And I was in Norway, and I decided not to fly down to Switzerland and Germany to do the selection races. So I could have, but yeah, I guess my coach was like, "No, don't worry, and we'll look towards the next one." And So yes and no.
It's
Um,
because it's such a fascinating aspect with cross country that yeah, learning that through Casey and Jess, it is almost a sport where it pays to wait a little bit and get older because what, you were 19 at that time, which for cross country skiing is extremely young. I mean, as you say, late 20s, early 30s. So the fact that you make your Olympic debut at what, 23, like, I mean, that's still considered very young, whereas for a lot of sports, yeah, I mean, gymnastics, for example, 23, you're basically a dinosaur. But I mean, it's kind of insane to think that it's almost the opposite for cross country. Like 23 is extremely young in that sport, and you've got plenty more Olympics ahead of you.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was one of the youngest, or still in the youngest bracket in the Olympic field this year. So that's nice. I probably keep improving and go to another one. Um, we had a guy Hugo who had a breakout season, and he qualified for the 15K in the sprint in at these Olympics, which was, I think he was actually the youngest to to ever go for cross country
Wow.
skiing, the youngest male. Um, so he is 2 meters though, so he
Helps
was
him
a
a
bit of
little
a
bit.
man. Yeah, he was a bit of a man child at the time. Um,
He'd be taller than the skis, basically, wouldn't he? Like, I mean, that's
yeah,
giant.
yeah. Well, he said if he was 199, and he said if I grow another centimeter, I'm switching to basketball. Like, that's just ridiculous.
might need him. Who
Getting out
knows?
of hand.
Yeah, I don't see often
Yeah,
a transition from skiing to basketball, but he could be the first. It's
yeah.
a weird transition period to that. So, I mean, with sort of that period then in between Pyeongchang through to Beijing, is it just a matter of hitting the circuit as much as you can, doing the junior world champs, the under 23s, and hitting the senior scene and kind of just racking up the experience? And how much is that sort of assisting you that eventually will lead you to qualifying for Beijing?
Yeah, it's just about firstly doing all the hours and the prescribed training, and it's quite a bit. So yeah, if you could at least just hit the training and with good quality, then you that's the first thing, and then yeah, secondly, I think um, it was getting experience on World Cup and World Champs, and just developing my race routine and my pre-race routine, and just making sure basically that I could win on my worst day. In that my difference between my best race and my worst race isn't too large, and that I can step up and perform on the bigger stages like World Champs and World Cup, and then especially Olympic qualification races.
How does that work? Because I know there's lots of complications when it comes to varying winter sports and the points and then the quotas. And then often a lot of athletes aren't chosen until, literally weeks before the Olympics when it comes to Winter Games. But that process leading up to Beijing, was it a case of you didn't know until right before the end? I mean, sort of how long was it before the games until you knew you were going to Beijing?
Um, it was official 3 weeks beforehand, but
Wow.
I sort of knew, or I pretty much knew after the last qualification race in at the end of December, just because, yeah, it was sort of based on the selection committee deciding who the best 3 guys were. And yeah, it was after the races, it was clear enough. So, but it was still nice to get the official announcement. Um, yeah.
Which I always love to find out, at what point do you feel like you're an Olympian? Is it when you're announced, when you arrive in China, your first race, when you leave? I mean, kind of, is there a moment where all of a sudden it clicks that I'm an Olympian?
Yeah, I think there was maybe 2 moments for you that are quite different. The first was walking down the ramp into the for the opening ceremony into the Bird's Nest Stadium, and it was just like an incredible, surreal moment with these massive rings suspended over the stadium, and there were actually quite a few people in the stadium, and it was super loud, and that was really cool. And then the second moment was maybe a couple of days later, potentially after I'd already done one of the events. I was just sitting in the bathroom, like on the toilet, and I just looked at my jumper and the rings on my chest, and then I just thought, oh, that's me. Like I'm wearing the rings, and
while taking a dump. The most inspirational one you've ever had in your life.
Yeah, it was a pretty inspirational moment.
I love that. You're the first person ever on this show to admit that that's a moment you realize you're an Olympian in that exact moment. That's wow. That's the most inspirational poo I've ever heard about. So
before then, wiping with toilet paper, and then putting the toilet paper not in the toilet but in a plastic bag, and then putting that in just a normal bin, because you can't flush.
You can't flush.
You can't flush paper down the toilet in China.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a little insider.
I thought that was maybe an Olympic thing. Like, no, this is an environmentally friendly Olympics. But wow, I don't even want to know the logistics of that. That sounds terrible.
I know, yeah. And then when we ran out of bags, we'd start like this is sort of a bit disgusting.
We're an open show here, Seve. It's fine. Let's learn.
We'd run out of enough plastic bags, so we'd just like leave it open and like start using the same bag, and
Recycling.
It wasn't nice when I saw Phil's like toilet paper in the bin.
Shrek's toilet paper was getting a bit swampy.
A bit swampy.
I mean, I got to ask, does the toilet paper have Olympic rings on it? Is everything just branded to the fact that you go, oh, Olympic rings on my toilet paper? Wow.
No, not quite the toilet, or not quite that.
Wow.
But a lot of
disappointing.
Stuff. Yeah, disappointing.
Wow. We're learning a lot here. I mean, often we do find out that our interviews can turn quite shit, Seve, but, now we're really getting there. Do you soak up the moments, probably a bad segue there, do you soak up the moments of the Olympics when you soak up? Does all it gets soaked up really into those days? Are you sort of take those moments to soak up, you know, village life and kind of everything else? I mean, obviously you've got a lot of events that are spread out quite significantly throughout the games, but are you able to take any moments to really soak up the Olympic atmosphere in Beijing at the time?
Yeah, try and walk around and jog around the village as much as we could. And we had days where we had, 3 or 4 days off in between. And it was freezing walking around the village. So you sort of wouldn't want to do it too much, like minus 17 and blustering wind conditions and super dry. So it was not like sunbaking weather. We kicked the footy around the village one day, which was fun. And we do trips to the dining hall when we could, which was a cool experience. They had the perspex barriers between like where you could eat. So it was sort of like, I don't know, you could sit opposite some random Norwegian wax tech and there'd be like a plastic shield between you two, but sort of just look up and say hi. And then, I think a big thing at the Olympics was the pin trading. Like everyone had pins from their country. You've probably heard.
Yep.
So that's always a good conversation starter.
Do you get addicted? I love hearing from some of our guests that they get really addicted to it.
Yeah, I personally didn't. I don't know.
Phil did, didn't
I
he? Come on,
just,
he's been to a
yeah,
few. He just, every Olympics he goes to, I can imagine he just wants to add to the collection, right?
yeah. He really values the pins.
That's all he goes to the Olympics for. He's like, oh, sure, I'll
Well,
compete in skiing,
yeah.
but I just want the pins.
The funniest part about the pin trading was we were sitting in the dining hall, and then this French um, cross country skier called Maurice Magnificat, who I think it was his fourth Olympics. He came up to me and Phil, and he's like, "Oh, you want to trade the pins?" And like, and we were just like, "Oh, really? You really want to trade pins still at your fourth Olympics, just walking around the dining hall like a 15-year-old trying to like talk to everyone."
He's got like a box
trade.
at home. That's, I mean, sure he
Yeah,
might have some medals and some World Cup, but he's got the pins. That's pride and place on his mantelpiece.
yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Which, because I mean, I've heard all the stories like how, I think it was during Tokyo, and I think in Beijing somebody mentioned it too. There's like secret pins. Like you've got a special app that basically, if you follow prompts, you can get a certain pin that the IOC or the organizing committee put together. Things like that. Almost like Pokemon Go, it seems.
Yeah. In at the village, there was a Samsung shop, which was one of the sponsors for the games, and if you went into the shop, and they had about 8 different stations of activities, like take a selfie with so and so, or like draw a phone. I don't know. They were just quick activities, and you got a sort of puzzle piece to like a collection of these Samsung pins. And once you got all of them, you could be in the running to win a free phone.
Wow.
Yeah, and the problem was it was so easy to get like 10 of the 12 pins, and then 2 of them, which were like gold Samsung collector's pins, were so hard to find. We were walking around the courtyard that afternoon trying to see if anyone had these gold pins, and this guy must have been like a volunteer. He was a local, and he just sort of strolls over with like a posse of like 6 other people following him, and he's just got this like necklace around his chest with just all of these gold pins, like in from the
Wow.
mafia or something. And he knew he was hot property.
He'd been hoarding them all. That's where they all
Yeah,
were.
yeah. He just rolls up. He's like, "Well, like, what are you going to give me for these?"
Wow. I will compete for Australia tomorrow in the 15-kilometer skiathlon and I will give you a pin.
Yeah, exactly.
I am now Seve de Campo.
Yeah, I think he wanted my identity or something.
Wow. That's crazy. I love hearing those stories with everything, because I mean, obviously that's something that makes the Olympics. And as we've talked a lot about on this show, particularly with winter athletes, you don't often really get a multi-sport event to go to besides an Olympics. You're not a swimmer or a field hockey player where you've got a Commonwealth Games you can go to, or, say the Canadians can go to a Pan Am Games, things like that. So these are those moments where you really are, soaking it up. You're bumping shoulders with other athletes from other sports, and you're kind of making those memories along the way that other athletes get to do a lot more often.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. We really made the most of it.
Which I also find fascinating to think that you've got this 4-time Olympian going around, because I think the thing that obviously will be fascinating about cross-country skiing, for us, going back to what I was saying before, not a huge sport in Australia, but you've got some global superstars in this sport, from people like Norway, Finland, these are, the Shane Warnes of Norway and things like that. I mean, obviously you're competing against them a lot of the time on the world tour, but do they kind of have a bit of an aura about them that maybe Australians wouldn't understand? It's no different to if a Norwegian met Shane Warne, if he was still with us, or Sam Kerr or someone like that they're not going to understand the level that they have in Australia. And what's it like kind of being around this big name Norwegian cross-country skier that anybody in Australia will go, who the fuck's that?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They definitely like the top guys, and there's a really good guy from Norway, um, Klabo, and there's his sort of counterpart rival from Russia, Bolshinov, and heaps of others in between. And a lot of the top guys sort of, they're doing laps around the World Cup course, and they've got a bit of a swagger and like just very serious looking. Sort of don't want to go up and don't want to get in their way a little bit. But yeah, definitely. I mean, in Norway, it's massive. And one of the freestyle girls was telling me the Norwegian freestylers often complain because the cross country skiers take all the money. And yeah, it's quite glamorous over there. So they bring that to the World Cup, and they're pretty hot property. And yeah.
Do you ever feel though, like, I mean, Australians, we're a bit laid back, a bit more relaxed and all that sort of stuff. Like, if you're getting lapped by one of these guys or you're standing next to them on the start, do you feel a bit like chirpy? Do you want to be like, oh, come on, mate, I can beat you in cricket. Like, okay, you're a bit good at cross country, but, come out the back, we'll throw a few to me and we'll see how you go there.
Yeah, we have a joke that we can always say, oh, well, say they beat us. We'll go, well, at least we get to go back to Australia at the end of the day.
Son, do you know what that is in Norway? Probably not.
Do you know what that is? No.
A beach. Have you heard of that in Norway?
Exactly.
So I feel like we shouldn't badmouth Norwegian because in Tokyo, they did all right in like triathlon and freaking, they were getting all right in summer sports, Norway. So they're gradually taking on. I'm a bit scared for how Norway are doing in summer sports now, Seve. So, they've worked out a secret to somehow. We need to do that with winter now. We did well in Beijing, but we need to sort of get to Norway levels in the summer sports. So
exactly, yeah.
Something in the water going in Norway.
Starting to crack onto that a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. 5 events you compete in Beijing, which again is just insane to me in such a grueling sport that you're able to sort of do that. The one, I mean, you sort of touched on it before, and we talked a lot about it during the Olympics. The 50K ended up getting shortened to 30K because of the weather. I mean, does this happen often in cross country that all of a sudden you've got to do a shortened distance? Because, I mean, it kind of weirdly, I don't know if it seems fair. Like if all of a sudden you've got a guy who's better at the first 30K but sucks in the last 20 and, I mean, I don't know. Is that something that commonly happens in the sport?
Not at all. I don't ever recall it happening, and I'm pretty confident it has either never happened or hasn't happened in the last 40 years. So it was pretty crazy. I mean, it was a weird morning. We were at the stadium and sort of just getting ready for the race, and there'd been a lot of talk in the leading days about the weather. And I went for a little jog around the stadium, and I did think like, this is pretty intense out here. And we were gearing up like all morning. Okay, we'll just go out there and we can handle anything. And then when they shortened it, I mean, we could see on Instagram quite a few of the other skiers weren't happy with it. And like 50K down to 30 makes a little bit of a difference. There are definitely some skiers that prefer that little bit longer. But like at the time, you can't dwell. You just have to, take what you get. Yeah, you just got to go for it.
Because I think we compared, it's like if all of a sudden in the Summer Olympics, they're like, oh no, the marathon's not going to be 42K, so it's only going to be 30. Like, I mean, it's kind of, it's a weird thing, which I can imagine an event that is so long, you've got to condition the body to hit certain points in that race. And yeah, like as you said, certain people probably get to a 30K and they're only hitting their strides. They've still got 20 to go. So it seemed like such a unique thing to do and something that, really did seem completely unprecedented.
Yeah, there's that. And there's also the sort of tradition with doing the Olympic 50K that was on our minds a little bit as well. Because, I mean, the 50K is cross country skiing is the oldest winter Olympic event there is, along with a couple of other disciplines. So it's quite prestigious. So yeah, it was a little bit of a pity that we couldn't do the full 50. And yeah, well,
how bad were, I mean, minus
time.
15 degrees, I believe. The wind was pretty bad. I mean, like, I guess you sort of get used to some of these conditions in some of the other places you're skiing in. But I mean, how did you compare those conditions to some of the other places you've skied in on that day?
I think it was the wind that was the main thing. It's like it had been cold all week. But yeah, it was the wind that would just sort of shoot straight through any clothing you had. Yeah, probably not comparable. Like, it was definitely the worst conditions I'd skied in. It actually lessened a little bit during the race, the wind, and it was basically fine with all the layering we had. Yeah, we just felt like warriors out there, Vikings, and
That's the way. Like the Norwegians,
yeah.
right? You know, Vikings going along. That's what
But
they're doing, right?
we don't want to talk too much about Norwegians,
Yeah,
just because
no. Calm the Norwegian talk, Ben. They get enough tension with that. You finished
yeah.
51st in that one. That was your best individual result. I mean, with all the events that you did, the performances, I mean, did you leave Beijing satisfied? Had you set yourself goals that you met? Kind of like, how did you leave feeling you had performed in each of your events?
Yeah, I was firstly just really happy to be in good shape and just be in a position where I could give it everything for all of the races. And there were lots of moments where I was competing neck and neck with the best skiers in the world, which was a great feeling. I probably didn't quite have the perfect race for me from start to finish. The 51st in the 50K was the closest to that. I just cramped up like really bad in the last couple K. But yeah, I was really happy with that race, and I had a really good group that I skied with. I skied with 3 Chinese national team members, and a Belgian guy and a Latvian guy, and a couple of Kazakhs. And I had good skis, so I'd go past on the downhill and then just ease up a little bit on the uphill and let them break the wind, and then do that again. So yeah, it was lots of fun, and just being able to do your best at the Olympics was like a dream come true at that time. And then I'll aim for better performances, hopefully at the next ones.
I was going to say, I mean, I can imagine it spurs you on. As we mentioned, you're sort of still very young cross-country skiing standards. So, I mean, I can imagine right now it's switch focus. It's been obviously 6 months at the time of recording this since Beijing now. So 3.5 years now to Milan. Is that kind of the next goal?
Yeah, that's where we're heading at the moment. My life will probably go through some changes in those 3.5 years. I mean, it's still a long time. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what I'll be doing in, 2.5, 3 years. But I'll still be training, and I'll still be looking to improve and do my best at the next games. And I think a big thing that we usually target is the team sprint event. I'm not sure if you watch that one. Mm-hmm. But getting into the final of the team sprint would be massive. So that's the top 10 go into the final, and then it's big time media around the world. And once you're in the final, it's sort of a little bit more like anything can happen. Not quite Steve Bradbury, but
oh, you never know.
A lot more would have to go wrong in a cross-country skiing event for a Stephen Bradbury moment. But
never say never. Come on. Which, I mean, it is fascinating to see the depth of cross-country skiing in Australia. I mean, it was the third biggest team behind only freestyle skiing and snowboarding at Beijing. And it always seems to be that Australia sends a pretty big cross-country skiing team to every single Olympic. So is that depth still there within the sport in the country? And with that, I mean, the training and everything that goes into it, is that then the ultimate goal is to try and get that final spot for the team sprint with the depth that we've got in the country at the moment?
Yeah, we've got some good juniors and younger skiers coming through. So the depth, and like we had national champs a couple of weeks ago, and the depth had been as good as I'd seen it in the last 8 or so years that I'd been racing national champs. So that's exciting. And yeah, I mean, we take a big team to the Olympics, partly because the Olympic field in cross-country skiing is still really big. Like, I think it's 140 guys and girls that, for 140 guys, 140 girls that that qualify and compete, which is the biggest field there is. So yeah, it's looking good, Ben.
That's good. I'm glad. I'll get my skis on soon, and
You can, and then you can join as well.
I'm only 35. I'm a spring chicken in cross country, so I've got plenty of time to catch up. Right? How old's Phil? Exactly. He's about 50, isn't he? So
he's 53, I think. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, plenty of time to catch up and get there. Seve, we'd like to close out with some fun sort of get to know you questions. Before I get to those, just reading a few of your interviews that you've done over the years, I think you might need to take up maybe a role in motivational speaking, because you've got some good quotes here. I want to read out a couple of quotes here that you've said. You've talked about the rhythmic dance of cross-country skiing, and that you said it makes you feel like a monkey swinging on a vine in the jungle, calm and precise with my movements, agile with my body, fluid and present with my mind, in a beautiful flow-like state, breezing through it. Very inspirational. And then this one, I love this one, where you compare cross-country skiing to life. You say it's sort of like a metaphor for life. You don't know why, and you're not necessarily enjoying it at that particular moment, but you just embrace attacking each hill and keep going right to the finish line. So I'm seeing motivational talks, posters, T-shirts. Like, you've got something going here, Seve. I think you got a career in this.
We should create a business team, you and me.
Yeah.
And we could
absolutely.
We could sell these. Yeah. No, I stand by both those quotes.
They're fantastic quotes. I want to see one of those like posters, like the black one with the box in it. And it's got like, Seve de Campo, Olympian, national roller ski champion.
Monkey, vine leaves.
Yep. Metaphor for life, cross-country skiing.
You don't know why.
Yeah, exactly. There's an inspirational picture of you taking a dump while you're staring at your Olympic rings going, wow, I'm an Olympian, all those moments that hit you there. So we'll talk. We'll get something together, and helps with the funding as well, no doubt, for the Olympics as well. Always need a bit of sponsorship and funding, right?
That's true. Yeah, could help.
Keeps going on that way. We wrap up with a set of fun questions. As always, these are based on a questionnaire that was given to Team Canada athletes before Pyeongchang and Rio. Silly, fun, great, everything along those lines. There is an element to this, an optional element of drawing if you want to. Casey drew, before Beijing, she drew an octopus, I think, from memory, for her favorite animal. So, if you feel there's always draw your favorite animal, draw a picture of a teammate, things like that. So if you want some homework, Seve, feel free to send it in. We'll put it on our social media, and people can say, do you think you're a better drawer than Casey? I mean, she was pretty good.
Yeah, I'm quite good. So,
okay. All right. Yeah. We'll hold you to that. We'll see. See how that goes. All right. First question for you. I know the answer to this. We've already talked about it. As a kid, who was your favourite sports team?
Hawthorn Football Club.
Do you follow like any other sort of sports? Like, do you sort of get on board with any other, like basketball, NRL, things like that at all? American sports?
Not really. Like, it's sort of weird, but I'm very into just AFL, which is a bit boring, but
it works. I mean,
just right into it.
Had a lucky life, I think. Did you go to any of the grand finals? Did you manage? I mean, you had a few to choose from, so.
No, not even. Dad would always go, but we couldn't get a ticket.
Wow. Even after all
Yeah,
those, do you think they'd share them after like your fourth one in like 7
I
years? Oh, like,
know.
come on.
Yeah.
Share it around. Share it around. Who are your favorite music artists?
Um, I like I like dance music, so uh, I've gone blank.
It's all right. You don't pass or fail this,
There's a
Sevy. It's
guy
all
from
good.
Perth called Guy Contact.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Sounds good. I'm a bit of a dance fan myself too. So you're redeeming yourself with the Hawthorne thing. So that's. I think we can work together well on those quotes. Your favorite place to compete is
um, is Falls Creek in Australia.
nice. Anything particular about that? That just is it just it's home, good course, sort of any
It's
particular.
home. It is a great course, and it's quite beautiful. And I know the trails really well, so I just can max. I can just get the most out of every turn. You know.
Your favorite Olympic moment is
Um, Probably um, giving Phil a hug on the finish line after the 50K, and
nice.
he just like couldn't talk. He couldn't really breathe properly. And yeah, just embracing him, just that notion of camaraderie and Aussie spirit.
Mateship, all of that. Is it so cold that you freeze together at that point or something like that? All
Yeah,
right,
we were
you
getting
let go now.
cold was coming on very quickly. We had to
It
get
does that.
inside.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Um, to fly,
Yep,
yeah,
good
that'd be
good
cool.
answer. Do you think you could
Yeah.
use that? Do you think you get away with that in a race? Like all of a sudden, like you start and then all of a sudden you've flown 50 k's around the
Ooh.
course pretty quickly. No one would notice, right? They're not paying attention to the Australians, so I mean,
Yeah, I'd maybe fly like a centimeter off the ground up the hill, sort of just pretending like I'm
Yep,
skiing.
yep,
They wouldn't penalize me.
yep.
Yeah, I'd do that.
Smart tactics. I think that would work. Your favorite sports movie is?
Um, is Racing Stripes.
Ah, the zebra one, right? Am I thinking of the
Yeah,
right one?
the zebra one.
Okay. Don't think I've ever had that answered before, but inspirational.
Yeah, he came out of nowhere, that guy, didn't
He
he?
did, really
Just
did. Yeah.
yeah, he proved them all wrong.
Wow. And it doesn't matter what you look like or, your abilities or,
Doesn't
never
matter
judge a
background.
horse by its stripes, basically,
Exactly.
Good there. I think more people need to answer Racing Stripes. It's their favourite
Mm.
sports movie.
Great support network as well with the fly and
Yeah.
the
It's a metaphor for life. There's another quote for you. I want that used on sort of the quote machine. That works. Your funniest childhood memory.
um for some reason this has come to mind, but I was about 6 or 7 and we were at like this junkyard playground in Melbourne. It was sort of like this new thing that just sort of car tires, and it was a playground for kids, and I did a flying fox and landed in like a pool of chocolate. Like
Pool of
after,
chocolate.
yeah, like I just plunged down after letting go of the flying fox, and it was just like a melted pool of chocolate that these kids were like eating these like chocolate, and the wrappers were there, and then I like landed and like just covered in chocolate, and these kids were like sort of thought it was really funny. So yeah, potentially not that funny for me, but
Wow.
but,
I
but
mean,
for
I
them,
didn't know if this is a thing in playgrounds in Melbourne that it's just a common occurrence.
it's the stuff you don't dream of. You can't
Yeah.
imagine. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. There you go. I thought, was this like a metaphor for just mud or more poo? But
We
okay,
could
it's
turn it into a life lesson,
possibly.
if
Well, I
you
mean, you're
like.
good at that. Connected to Racing Stripes. We're in for a good time, I think. Do you have a favorite pump up song for a race? Do you put the beats in and kind of tune something up?
Yeah, anything DJ Heartstring, you probably don't know, but Who else do I like? Do you know the Dragostea Dinte Maya
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Maya Ho?
Yep, Numa Numa.
Yeah, Numa Numa.
Yeah,
That,
that's a
that
good.
one.
Yeah, I can see that working. That
Yeah.
yeah. Wow, nice. That's. Are you allowed to have
Um,
the headphones in during a race? I can't imagine that's frowned upon.
no, no.
Damn. So you can't be like going around Skinner, Maya, skin up behind a Norwegian. How you going, Maya? Just like putting them off their game. So wow. Okay, good song. What's the most recent TV show that you binge watched?
um, it's called People Just Do Nothing, and it's a British sort of anti-comedy or like a mockumentary about a pirate radio station. I recommend it.
Okay, sounds good.
People Just Do
I
Nothing.
never frown upon a British comedy or an anti-comedy in this case. Sounds very good. Your least favorite food is?
Probably quiche.
Oh, Key, really? Not a fan. Wow, very select on that. Just don't like how it turns out, or not an egg man, or like how does that
Yeah,
come
I'm
about?
trying to give you quick responses, so just whatever comes to mind. I'm not really
Quiche,
prepared. I'm
sure.
not prepared to explain why. I'll probably
It's-
enjoy a quiche if you make me one, but
I was going to say secretly, this interview ends, you just go and cook yourself a quick quiche. Or you're saving it for
yeah,
your
yeah,
book, the Seve de Campo
yeah.
tell-all story, Why I Don't Like Quiche. If you weren't an athlete, what would you be?
Um, movie producer.
Nice. Oh, yeah, all right. That works. You've got the quotes, you've got the stories,
Yeah,
Racing Stripes 2. You could get on board with that. I like it. I can
exactly.
see it. The Phil Bellingham biopic, basically, you could work on that. I'm sure you'd be
Yeah.
keen for that. Final one. What's something that people usually describe you as?
Um, like a funny guy, I think.
Yeah, that works.
Maybe a bit weird.
Only a bit. Like, there's
Yeah, just a good amount.
just a good amount.
Um,
Enough that's not too overbearing, basically. You know.
yeah, just like you, sort of.
Yeah, thank you. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said on this show. So I appreciate that. Yes, exactly. Sevi, before we let you go, if anybody wants to stay up to date with your progress in the lead up to Milan or anything else you got going on, social media, anything else that you want to plug that people can check out?
Yeah, you can follow me on Seve de Campo _official. Not the unofficial one.
All those fake ones out there, they're not the real deal.
They're trying to get in. Yeah, yeah, that's I'm Insta verified as well. So, you're
Fancy. Got the blue
following
tick.
yeah, got the blue tick. So you're following a quality product. Yeah, that's the main way you can find me.
Fantastic. Well,
Yeah,
we will tag you in it when we post this up. But Sevi, mate, this has been a lot of fun. It's the longest I think I've ever enjoyed talking to a Hawthorn supporter. So appreciate that. Good luck for Milan, for 2030, for 2034, everything else that comes with it. And once again, please beat the Bulldogs this week.
yeah.
Please.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me. And yeah, good luck to the Blues on Sunday against the Pies.